Hi there, this is Mo Abdullahi, and welcome to my explanation of the total lunar eclipse that's coming on September 27th of 2015. And in general, what I'm trying to do today is to explain why do lunar eclipses occur, because they're very fascinating, at least they are to me, okay? And I'm going to answer some more questions if I possibly can. So, let's begin, shall we? First of all, for an eclipse to occur, we need 5 different things. We need the sun, we need the moon, we need the earth, of course, because that's where we are. We need the ecliptic. Well, the question is, what is the ecliptic? The ecliptic is an imaginary line that the sun travels on throughout the year. Every day it moves a little bit upon the ecliptic, and eventually it makes a full circle around. We also need 2 other things, the nodes, the north node and the south node. Now, if you've ever gotten into astrology, you know that there are nodes in a chart, but what do they represent? They represent points that the moon crosses, either going above the ecliptic or below the ecliptic. So these are real points in the sky, but they aren't planets per se. I thought it might be fun to take a look at some eclipse facts, because there are a lot of interesting facts with eclipses. For example, eclipses are not rare. People think they are. In actuality, there are 4 to 7 eclipses every single year. That's a fact. Now, eclipses always occur at either a new or a full moon. On the new moon, we're going to see a solar eclipse. On the full moon, we will see a lunar eclipse. Now, they may not always be total full eclipses, but something's going to happen at that period of time. Okay? Usually. Doesn't have to, but usually they do. And this is what we call eclipse seasons. What's that? There are 2 eclipse seasons every year. These coincide with the sun being at about 17 degrees on either side of a node. This happens twice a year. Okay? These are really kind of interesting, these eclipse seasons, and they were known by our ancestors, going all the way back to perhaps the beginning of history, but certainly Stonehenge and, beyond. There are more solar eclipses than lunar eclipses, yet, here's the deal. Wherever you are on the Earth, you stand a chance of seeing a total lunar eclipse every 2.5 years. However, at that same spot, you might have to wait 375 years for a total solar eclipse. There's a reason for that. We won't get into that today. Now, eclipses also follow what's known as a Saros cycle. That means that similar eclipses will happen at similar parts of the sky about every 18 years. That means they are predictable. When something is predictable, you can take the fear away from it. At least that's how I feel about it. Now let's take a look at this eclipse coming up on the 27th. This could be any total lunar eclipse. We call them a blood moon. This is the last of the tetrad, the 4 blood moons. Nothing to fear about it. As a matter of fact, it's really pretty cool. I love watching eclipses. Why don't we take a look at this eclipse from outer space, shall we? Yeah, I think we should. Let's start on Earth, and we're going to take a trip up to the moon. Luckily, we've got quite a rocket here. Now let's turn around and see what it looks like from the moon. It looks surprisingly like a total eclipse of the sun. Now let's back it up a little bit and go into it to see why that is. There's the sun, and that black spot is the Earth. And that is what's causing the eclipse, because it's a black spot, a dark shadow upon the moon. Now let's go to the sun. What does it look like from there? Well, it's a little warm up here, so let's turn around very quickly. Here we see the exact same situation, but from the sun, and we can see the shadow of the Earth crossing the moon, just like that. And on Earth, it looks just like that. Of course, much slower than that. Yeah, but it would take hours, you see. So anyway, so here we go. This is the moon, and right below it, that green line, is the ecliptic I was speaking of before. The sun moves 1 degree approximately on the ecliptic every single day. Now the moon moves much faster than that. Every jerk you're going to see here is 1 major day for the moon, and you can see it went just below the ecliptic, and now it's going to go above the ecliptic. You see it stopped there for a second. That would have been new moon. Goes above the ecliptic. And here we go. It's going to come down. And right at that spot, because that's where the south node is, we're going to have the eclipse. Now, you might ask yourself, why don't we have an eclipse every single month? I commend you on an excellent question. Well, the reason for that is because the moon is going to hit the nodes, but the sun moves. So as the sun moves every month, and we're going to see the moon here beginning to move on the ecliptic. See there, down it goes to the south node. And there we have the new moon. Now notice it's not right up next to the sun, so we're not going to have an eclipse there. Now the next month we come around, we have the north node, okay, as it's coming down, and let's go see where it's going to be with the sun this month on the new moon. Well, it's all the way over here, so that's not going to be an eclipse. But now this one, we're going to come right up next to the sun. That's going to be the partial eclipse we saw earlier, okay? And here we see it in all its glory. We saw this from the moon, if you remember, but this is what it looks like, okay? From the Earth looking at the moon with the ecliptic. So here we see we go round and round, but the sun moves 1 degree a day. So just because of that, and the nodes move as well, we're going to see that the north and south node really are nowhere near the sun. And that's why we have the phenomena of eclipses only happening during 2 seasons, because the sun moves and eventually it comes from one node, one side, the south to the north. Let's take a look at the lunar eclipse again from the Earth. It looks something like that. Now, if you're wondering where it's going to be in the sky, let me show you. It's going to be right in Pisces. You can see there's Pisces there. It's right above us. It's labeled actually, and Aquarius is off to the right, and there's the great square of Pegasus and Andromeda, and doesn't look like much yet, but and if you'll notice that little red X there, that's the vernal equinox, okay? This is important because it's going to give this such a punch. Because it's happening right inside the vernal equinox, the way it is, that means when the sun reaches that vernal equinox in March, you are going to feel a release of energy of whatever you've put into this eclipse, and that's what my meditation is going to be about. And then we'll have a couple years to deal with that, and I'll explain that in just a second. But this doesn't look like much, does it? But here's what it looked like to our ancestors. This is how they envisioned the sky. Now remember, the place of the equinox is different in the real sky than it is in the tropical system. Because here we can see it's right in Pisces, and in the tropical system it happens in Aries, and you can see that's over to the left a little bit, right? So it's still got a little ways to go. But this is where it is in the sky. And remember, it doesn't invalidate anything about astrology. Astrology works. We know that. We know that. Well, that's pretty much it. I hope you'll join me for my lunar eclipse guided meditation. It'll be on Thursday, September the 24th, 2015 at 6 p.m. Pacific on 12academy.com. Now, I do record my meditations and classes, so you don't have to be present to experience the meditation. You'll get it usually within half an hour of the class ending. Also, should you miss it completely, recordings will be available after that date at 12listen.com as an email-based service. I'm going to make those available for a few months because the energy is all about the next 6 months. Okay, why? Well, because that's when that next touching of the nodes is going to happen, okay, at the vernal equinox. Now, I hope you'll join me for this celebration. This is a celebration. Empower yourself. That's something we can all do. Learn about what this fourth and final blood moon can do for you at the guided meditation. We'll do it together, and I'm really hoping that we can get as many people involved as possible to help maybe change some of the crazy consciousness that's going on in the world today and to wake people up a little bit. Each one of us has the potential to change the world. I know that. Now, someone said, I'll just wait till the next one. Well, let me tell you what, the next total lunar eclipse, visible to most of North America, won't take place until January 21st, 2019. I'm not willing to wait that long. I'm on the planet now, and I'm going to miss that one if I'm not around. So I'm not going to miss this one. I plan on being around. But anyway, we'll see what happens. Hey, this has been my explanation. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you'll join me. And if you know people who will benefit from this, have them join us on the 24th at 1-2 Academy. Thank you so much. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful week and month and year and 2 years after the eclipse. This is Mo Abdelbaki wishing you all peace and love. Talk to you later.